In this video, I will address troubleshooting for a pose called Virabhadrasana 2 or Warrior 2. A common question that I get from my students is, why does Warrior 2 create pinching or pain, sometimes just pressure in the inner knee, the ankle, the hips, sometimes the lower back? And the reason why that oftentimes comes up is because of the way Warrior 2 is oftentimes cued. It's cued a lot of ways from a universal standpoint, even though how the pose relates to everybody's body is going to be slightly different. So for example, a common cue for Warrior 2 is heel to arch alignment. To break that down, what the teacher means, and I've been guilty of saying this in the past as well until I understood why it doesn't apply to everybody. But Warrior 2, the cue heel to arch alignment basically means that the front foot, the heel of the front foot lines up with the arch of the back foot. And the reason why this is problematic is because our bodies are all different. So our hip structures, how they relate to one another, maybe the width of our hips is going to all affect the width of our stance and the alignment of our feet. The second cue is that's very common, is that the front foot, knee, and hip need to be pointing in the same direction, aligning in the same direction. And I'll show you why that doesn't always work as well. The best way to show you what I mean is to try Warrior 2 lying down. So go ahead and lie down, but not all the way to the floor, propped up on your forearms. I learned this technique from one of my teacher friends, Alexandra Crow, and it's just a great way to gain a different perspective on a pose that we normally do standing. So you'll be propped up on your forearms and you'll take your legs into an abducted position. So basically separate the legs. Then let's start with the front leg being the right leg or your right leg. So you'll rotate your right leg out externally as you bend at the knee. So it might be challenging for you to see because I'm not showing the side profile. I will in a moment though, that my outer foot is touching the ground, but my knee is not. And my outer hip is relatively close to the floor, but my knee is not. And that just goes to show that my toes, my knee, and my hip are not perfectly aligned in the same exact direction. I'll show you sideways so that you can get a better view. So the outer hip is touching the floor, the outer ankle's touching the floor. So with the knee bend, I'm getting a little bit of rotation from the lower leg, but my knee is not touching the ground. The outer knee is not touching the ground. Now you can see that my heel is lined up with my heel. I don't quite have that heel to arch alignment. If I wanted to get heel to arch alignment, I would either have to lift my left leg, which if I'm standing would mean I'm rotating my back leg inward, or I would have to lift my front leg, which if I were standing, that would mean I would have to rotate the leg inward a little bit. It kind of is give or take. I'd have to rotate my back leg inward, or I wouldn't be able to allow my front leg to rotate out as far externally. So basically my toes and my knee would not be pointing perfectly to the front of the yoga mat. Let's check it out on the other side. So same thing here, right? My toes, my hip are to the floor, but my knee is not. And I would have to adjust my pelvis, my hips in order to get that heel to arch alignment. So let's try it standing and see how we can adjust in the body to make it more accessible for you. So come all the way up and we'll start with the right leg in front. So come all the way up and I'll show you turn this way. My right leg will be forward first. And let's just kind of come into it in the normal approach, right? Maybe coming up from a low lunge, right? We're gonna circle the arms open. Okay, so I'm trying to get heel to arch alignment. And let's try to do it in the more traditional sense, right? So my left leg is pointed to the side, my right toes and knee are perfectly tracking forward. And for me right now, I feel kind of a pinching in the inner knee. So let's try to adjust that. I can adjust by rotating my left leg inward, okay? I still get a little bit of that pinching sensation because my stance is a little too narrow for my hips. So I'm gonna try stepping my left foot wider. And I know it looks kind of awkward because we're not in the traditional sense or traditional alignment of Warrior Two, but my body feels better. I might rotate my left leg out just a little bit. I feel great. I don't feel that pinching. I don't feel that pain. And I can still find my Warrior Two stance. All I've done was widen my feet apart. All right, another approach to this is to keep my back leg where it is, but allow my front foot to turn inward a little bit. So all I've done is just shifted my front leg versus my back leg. Notice my right leg is still rotated out, right? But it's not as extreme, and it's not affecting my back hip, my lower spine, my back knee, or my back ankle. And this can be my Warrior Two. If you think about horse pose, that's another way to look at it, or goddess pose, right? Notice my thighs are rotated out, but unless I'm a contortionist, I'm not gonna be able to rotate my hips, my thighs perfectly pointing to the sides of the room. Sure, I might be able to rotate my feet, but after doing this maybe repetitively or for a certain amount of time, I'll probably start to feel that in the knees. So I'm gonna back off of that and just allow my toes and my legs to rotate out in a natural position, getting my legs to rotate out externally. Once that's it, that's it. So let's try it on the other side. So my left leg is my front leg. And again, we're gonna come into the traditional alignment. Okay, my right leg is rotated out and I'm in heel to arch alignment. So right here, I actually don't feel it in my left leg, or sorry, this is my right leg, but I do feel it in my inner left knee. So it looks like there's a theme in my body that my left knee is the one that's giving out when the structure is not aligned for me. So in order to adjust for this, again, I can adjust my back leg by stepping it out wider, maybe turning the leg in, see how it feels. Nah, I'm starting to feel that pinching in my back knee. I'm gonna turn my leg, my toes out to the side a little bit. I feel great. No pinching, no pain, and I'm able to find depth in my Warrior Two and challenge myself without compromising certain parts of my body. Second option is to keep my back leg where it is and rotate my front leg inward a little bit. Again, it's like that goddess pose, and I'm just not allowing my rotation to come from the knee or to come from the hip. And it's a little bit more fluid from the knee, or the hip rather, to the knee to the ankle. And this can be my Warrior Two. All right, so give it a try, explore on your mat. Don't be afraid to deviate from the norm or to deviate from what is traditional. Because for me, my body is nothing like the traditional student, right? I have a wider hip set, I'm a little curvier around my stomach. And so, you know, if you think about it in the very traditional sense, students or traditional yoga practitioners were male, were slender men from India that probably didn't have as wide of hips as me, right? So it's so important to take all of that into consideration to be able to apply the idea of the pose in your own body. So give it a try and see how it feels in your practice.